In recent years, the excitement around women's basketball and the growth of the sport has been undeniable. Last year, women's basketball national championship game between LSU and Iowa performed extremely well in terms of TV ratings. The 2023 WNBA Finals between the Aces and Liberty had some of the best TV ratings in the history of the W. And just last month, according to Sports Media Watch, more viewers watched South Carolina's win over LSU than the NBA's matchup between the Heat and Celtics on that same night at the same time. However, with all those facts, there still are people denying the growth of women's hoops, including a professional NBA player. Here to discuss women's basketball with me is a great reporter for the Long Beach Post who does an excellent job covering the W and the host of the Jackie Ray Show, the one and only, the great Jackie Ray. Jackie, what is going on?
That was a great introduction. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Always glad to talk to you. And look, for the great people, you got to bring great introductions. You know,
right.
I always try to give good introductions, but everybody can't get a great one. So you deserve a great one. Had to do it there. Of course. Jackie, I wanted to start with this. Denver Nuggets forward Michael Porter Jr., he appeared on the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark last week, and he shared some opinions on the WNBA. Porter Jr. compared women's basketball players to ping pong players, asking for more money, and stated that he'd watch more women's basketball if the players dunked more often. As someone who covers women's hoops, what were your reactions to MPJ's comments?
My first immediate reaction was, is this the Kevin Samuels era where men just feel like they have to speak on everything that has to do with women and there's no women in the room? I thought it was shameful, especially given his background. But in that moment, I just realized he doesn't understand. Did they not send him the rundown? Because I definitely would have reached out to my family members and said, hey, I'm going on to this show. I'm going on to the Pivot podcast. They're going to ask me specifically about the growth of the WNBA. You have some direct access, some direct knowledge about that. What do you think? Instead, he went in there with a barrel full of ignorance and just spewed it all over the show. And I thought it was very, very embarrassing. I saw someone say that we are slamming him because those of us who are really passionate about the WNBA definitely took to Twitter X and let him know about himself. And people are saying, no, you shouldn't do that because he is an advocate. And I think advocates know what they're talking about. And this moment, he proved that he didn't.
It's an interesting point, Dan. You talked about how the fact he could have even asked his family. And this brings me to the second question here, because considering Porter Jr. has sisters who have played basketball at a high level, his comments, they were even more surprising to me, right? And also it appeared that MPJ didn't understand pay equality within the W and seemed to suggest that WNBA players were asking to make the same salaries as their NBA counterparts. Jackie, can you address or clarify what players in the W are asking for when it comes to pay equality?
Yeah, they're asking for equity. They're not asking for the same amount that men are making. That would be asinine because the W doesn't make as much as the NBA makes. In fact, the WNBA is still slightly dependent on the NBA. So it's not the same thing. And Kelsey Plum has been on every podcast she can possibly think of to talk about this. All you have to do is pay attention. All they want is the same in revenue sharing. They want to make sure that they have the same opportunities as the men have, which means if you sell a jersey, if Kelsey Plum or Asia Wilson, who is the face of the W, if she sells jerseys, she doesn't get a percentage of that revenue. And that's what they want. They want equity. Now, do I think the Players Association should be more proactive in making sure these women can get this equity? Absolutely. But the reality of it is they have been chirping about this for a long time. They've been very vocal about this, and it still hasn't happened. So if you want to talk about the game, talk about that, because these women are incredibly athletic. They do incredible things on the floor, and it's still continuing to grow. And so he really needs to learn what he's talking about and learn the difference of the words before he speaks on it.
Yeah, it definitely does. And that's something that's going to be a major point in terms of the next W collective bargaining agreement that women are trying to increase the revenue sharing for them in the sport. Now, Jackie, these narratives that we hear, particularly from men, about women's basketball that seem to pop up, they're dangerous to the growth of the game. It seems like they are. What needs to be done to counter these narratives that simply aren't factual? Is it as simple as, I don't know, having women or professional female athletes talk about this instead of actually just having a room full of men on the podcast that we saw there?
You know, Dexter, that's a great question because I feel the women of the W have been very vocal, but I think they just haven't been getting the attention that they need. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to cover the W, because I wanted to lift up their voices a little bit more. And the reality of it is, one of the narratives that I absolutely hate is, oh, they need to lower the rim. I don't know if people know this, but the women of the W, they can push for change if they want to. They have really moved the political needle when they wanted to. If they wanted that rim lowered, it would be lowered. So I think the reality is you need to say, hey, these women are good, full stop. Everything after that, it doesn't even matter. They're good. They are very professional at what they do. They keep raising the bar. And the reason why we watch them so much is because they continue to fascinate us in what they do and just show some respect. It's the same game, but it's two different people and two different groups of people. And that is absolutely fine. I always think people can do the same thing, but do it a little bit differently. And both of them deserve love. And it's all about respect. And it's not, to me, my personal opinion, this isn't really about the W. It's about the lack of respect that women in general still have in this country. We just don't get the respect that we deserve.
I think that's a fantastic point there. Societally, we have not done a great job of caring for women. Just look at history. History will tell you that. There's no arguing that point, in my opinion there. Last thing for me, let's talk about something a little positive, Jackie. What are you liking about what we are seeing in the sport of women's hoops as we head towards March Madness and the start of the 2024 WNBA season? What's really been catching your eye?
Let me tell you, I'm trying not to smile ear to ear on this one because I have been saying since I've been covering the Sparks that Nneka needs a new home. And now that she is going to Seattle with Skylar, I am so excited about this. This is a woman that is just, she plays with such integrity. She's also very regal to me, and she can lead young people. And she's never really had the opportunity to meet her full capacity in LA. So I am super excited about Seattle. I'm also excited about these rivalries that are starting to manifest themselves in the league, because that's the reason why you're getting these high numbers. That's the reason why the WNBA finals last year was so watched. It's because of these rivalries. And when you're talking about bringing Caitlin in and Reese in, that's going to be a beautiful thing. The W, what they really need to learn how to do is to capitalize on the personalities of these collegiate athletes when they're coming into the W. I think they're just starting to realize that, and they're going to build upon these rivalries, and that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what it is for the next generation of stars coming in. You mentioned Caitlin Clark, you mentioned Angel Reese, both expected to be in the upcoming W draft. Should be very interesting. The future of women's basketball is bright, Jackie. I know we both love the sport. We both love hoops. And those saying otherwise, we ain't here for it. We're not here for that at all. That is the great Jackie Ray. Catch out her work with the Long Beach Post. Also catch out the Jackie Ray Show. It's a wonderful one. Jackie, always a pleasure to talk to you. We'll talk again soon.
See you soon.